People think that people start falling in love with you when you're in their presence. The truth is that falling in love happens when you're not around. Falling in love happens in your absence. Just like your brain repairs itself and heals itself when you're asleep, people end up falling in love when you're not there. But unfortunately, the process of falling in love requires your absence. Too much presence, and you're gonna get in the way of that natural process. Let me explain to you why. Okay, look, what people want is their imagination to be turned up. What people want is their imagination to be stimulated. So, unfortunately, when you are around, people are not using their imagination. When you are in their presence, people are just looking at you, using their eyes, using their rationality, and feeling your presence, right? The problem with that is that to fall in love requires fantasy. To fall in love requires desire. And you cannot create desire when you have something already in your face. You cannot fantasize about someone when they're consistently in your face. You need some time away from them so that your brain could begin to idealize them. Because people think that, oh, people will love me for me. People really fall in love with who I really am. The truth is, people don't really fall in love with who you really are. Yeah, they love you for you. They care for you. You know, it's almost like your mom, like let's just say you're a serial killer, right? Bob the serial killer. And she finds out that you killed 10 people. And she's still going to love you. Right? She's still gonna love you. She's realizing that you're a psychopath, but she's still gonna love you. And what is that? Well, this whole falling in love with who you are. If she was really reacting to who you are, she'll find you despicable, and she wouldn't love you. But the truth, people's love is not a thing that's based in reality. It's an irrational thing. It's something that unfortunately people never really love us for who we really, even your kids, right? Even your kids. A lot of kids think their parents are fucking angels, Superman. No, your parents are dumb, okay? They're the dumbasses. I met them. I know, sorry. But that's an example with kids, right? So imagination is what creates that love. Imagination is what builds the structure of love. And unfortunately, presence slows that down. What presence does, it gives your mind something to work with, an image, something to build upon. But the building happens when you're not there. I actually wrote about this. Watch this.
Imagination plays a vital role in shaping our perception of someone we love. When we're infatuated with someone, our minds often construct an idealized image of that person, accentuating their positive traits and overlooking their flaws.
And again, that's not based in reality, right? You got to understand, people who love you are ignoring your negative traits. So that's what I'm saying is that if they really if they really analyze you for who you are, they wouldn't love you. Like not to, I sound like such a negative person sometimes.
This imaginative process can lead to an idealized version of the individual, one that may not entirely align with reality. However, this idealized perception forms the basis of our emotional attachment and feelings of love.
Right? Because think about it. Why would a child still cling on to his parents who are hurting him? Right? It's not based on reality. There's something completely fundamentally irrational going on that you guys have to understand. That presence destroys this. Or better yet, presence to me allows you to really start thinking straight about this person. Right? Like
when we suffocate someone with too much presence and attention, we limit the opportunity for their imagination to shape their perception of us. This overbearing presence can hinder the natural imaginative process that contributes to the development and sustenance of romantic feelings. Furthermore, this excessive involvement can lead to feelings of suffocation and a diminished sense of autonomy for the other person, ultimately disrupting the normal ebb and flow of love.
Yeah, people don't like to feel like they're being forced to do something. And you're going to unconsciously signal that if you're too much in their presence. And also unconsciously signals that you are not at ease with yourself, that you have no self-love, that you have no true self-esteem that radiates from within you, that you don't have your own ecosystem of positive emotions.
From a neuroscience perspective, the phenomenon of reduced love due to excessive presence can be understood through the concept of habituation. The brain's reward system is wired to respond to novelty and unpredictability, which are key components of romantic attraction and attachment. When one
And you create the novelty through many different ways. And I could talk about that in another video, but an example is like when women have their makeup self versus their non-makeup self, right? For example, I love it when I wake up and the girl that I'm dating, she looks normal, right, without makeup. I like it, but then it makes it so much more fun that whenever we go out, I'm like, oh my god, it's you again, that person, right? That the Cinderella effect. That's an example, or even for guys, right, where we have that Cinderella effect. I think we do. Yeah, we do, right? Where we have different looks. A perfect example of the Cinderella effect is David Bowie, right? For guys, where David Bowie dressed completely different, and he looked like a completely different person based on what he dressed. If you go Google David Bowie face, you'll notice that he does this. Let me show you, right? I want to show you here because David Bowie, right? Notice how he looks completely different based on how he dresses. Look, right here. All of these look completely different people, and the only thing that he is doing is dressing different, right? So literally having a masculine way of dressing, and then one day maybe a feminine way of dressing, and then maybe one day you're like just completely different styles produces this effect.
one's presence becomes constant and predictable, the brain's response to their presence. When one's presence becomes constant and predictable, the brain's response to their presence may diminish over time. This is akin to how repeated exposure to a stimulus can lead to a decreased physiological response.
Like, for example, I have ringing in my ear, which sometimes doesn't annoy me, but I've gotten to the point where sometimes I don't even notice it, or sometimes I have like the dots, the things that move, the black dots in your eye, floaters. I don't notice it anymore. Before I used to. And sometimes when you are consistently there, people stop noticing your uniqueness, your beauty. You know, it's just human nature, and you have to understand that.
Therefore, an overabundance of presence may lead to a decrease in the brain's reward response associated with romantic love.
It doesn't produce the same reward response. It's so fucking true.
Potentially reducing the intensity of one's feelings towards the suffocating party.
And so to fix that, you just have to give them space. Unfortunately, a lot of people never come to that simple conclusion because they're too insecure. They don't even want to think about the thought of leaving them or giving them space because they are afraid that if they give their lover space, they're going to find somebody else who's better than them. But the truth is that to stand out from other people, what you have to understand is that if you're with someone that spends 20 hours with someone versus spending 5 hours with someone, understanding this principle will let you understand that the one who spends 5 hours, that person is going to think of the person that they spent 5 hours with more than somebody who's consistently suffocating them with their presence. It's just that simple. Look, a strong presence, right, brings honor and respect, but unfortunately, too much of it has a paradoxical effect. It has a reverse effect. It actually spoils them. It's like eating too much red meat is not good for you. The more people see you, the less they start thinking about you, the less they start fantasizing about you. And you gotta understand, for somebody to desire you, desire comes with a fantasy, right? You can't desire something that you already have. To desire something, it has to not be there, and you have to imagine it in your mind so that the brain creates a desire, and then it'll release dopamine and make and create excitement and energy to make that thing happen. And so the more dopamine your brain releases because you're not there, the more they start thinking of you in more vivid and strong, in more vivid images and more vivid videos in their minds. And that makes the person want to bridge that gap between fantasy and reality. And that gap creates desire. That's just how that works. Too much closing of that gap removes the fantasy aspect, removes the desire aspect that makes the brain hype you up in the person's mind. So that's why you need space to make this process happen on its own. If you're there too much, let me tell you something. When you're in their presence, all you got to make sure to do is make sure that you guys feel some chemistry, right? And you're gonna notice because he or she makes a lot of eye contact, right? He or she tries to be very physically close to you. They're not always trying to do stuff with you, but they're physically close. He or she will want to spend time with you, doing simple things with you. So and above all, make eye contact, right? You gotta make sure you make eye contact. So for all of my autistic followers, you have to make eye contact. Why is that? Well, whenever you recall the memory of somebody that you spent time with, what you tend to notice is that the memory of imagining a lover or somebody that you like is usually with eye contact. If you're reminiscing through lust, someone in the past, you may not think about their eyes. You're gonna think about that ass. You're gonna think about how they looked and stuff like that. The focus of the imagination is gonna be more on their bodies, right? But if you're recalling a lover that you liked and that you guys had genuine chemistry, one of the things that will happen is that the way the brain is gonna recall them. It's gonna recall them by putting most of the emphasis of the mental picture on the eyes, the mouth, and then the nose, and then everything else will be sharp, but it won't be as sharp, and the sharpness will diminish. Like from the sharpest will be in the eye, and then it'll diminish the further it goes. But the difference is this: is that the image in the mind is still gonna be colorful, vibrant, and big, and with an emotional impact. But the most vibrant and the sharpest part of that imagination is going to be in the eyes. And also, the eyes is the one thing that has the most contrast, right? Out of all the body, the eyes has the most contrast. It has the whitest part and the blackest part. So it's obvious that whenever you are imagining your lover, you're going to imagine the eyes. Now, the mouth is the next thing that has a lot of contrast, right? So you're going to first imagine the eyes, and then you're going to imagine the mouth, because the mouth has a lot of contrast. It has the teeth, and it has the blackness on the inside, right? So those are the two things that you tend to focus on when you're having those mental images. So that's why it was very important that when you're in their presence, that you have those moments of eye contact and silence, because that's what they're gonna recall in your absence. But unfortunately, too many people don't understand this, and they suffocate their lovers with too much attention, right? A person's absence enhances their presence, but after a while, it diminishes once you know too much of the person. Your presence suppresses imagination. When you're there, when you're in their presence, it suppresses imagination. So what does that do? It suppresses desire. The more you imagine your lover, the more you want them. The less you imagine them, the less you want them. So when there's no imagination, there's no surprise, no mystery, no ambiguity that makes people want to see you more. It's how that works. So what people want is their imagination to be stimulated. So mix truth with fantasy. They want to desire something. So that's why and it's actually even better if when you're in the presence, you dress in a way that represents a stereotype. Don't just dress in a banal way, right? Dress in a way that communicates a stereotype, right? For example, when you see me, I represent something in culture, right? I represent, spiritual, hipster, a little bit of hood. I'm not from the streets, but a little bit of unhingedness, and that does activate people's imagination, because there is an archetype. You could think of Jimi Hendrix. You could think of what's that black guy that plays the guitar? That he was from the 90s. He kind of looks like me. He's better looking, by the way. What's his name again? Lenny Kravitz. There's an archetype to me. What you want is to have a physical archetype. Look like something in culture that's elevated, and literally you could just dress it, right? So for example, for me, when women imagine me in their minds, this is more exaggerated in their minds. Like my archetype in their minds is more exaggerated, and they fall in love with that exaggerated version of me, right? It doesn't mean that they're not falling in love with me, right? Because eventually the honeymoon period will go down and all the smoke is going to clear away, and if they actually like me, they're going to stay, but this is the process. This cannot happen if you're always there, if you're always suffocating them. Even if they're your neighbor, you have to put limits on how often they see you, because if you are always there, how many couples broke up because of the pandemic? And it's not that the coronavirus made people not love each other. No, it's the fact that they were always there that caused the conflict, right? So remember, the more distant an object is, the more they want it. People want you more when you're not there. People want you less when you're there. It kind of sucks, but just imagine any person that you were dating. You usually have the strongest desire when they were not there. And once they're there, it's not that you don't want them, but that the desire goes down because it finally fulfilled its purpose. It bridged the gap between imagination and reality. And now you just appreciate them with your bonding hormones. But before that, it was the dopamine that was inspiring you and creating those mental images to want to see them. This applies to everyone in life, to everything in life. If you don't apply this, what would happen is that people would not appreciate you for who you are. They're not going to respect you that much. They're not going to treat you with the love and respect that you feel like you deserve. And that's because you're always too present in their life. Notice how people treat you when you're away after a few weeks or months. Notice their reaction. If you want to get more of that, learn to be alone. Learn to give people more space than necessary, because that's when they love you. But if you are just always suffocating them, they're gonna fall out of love with you. They're gonna get tired of you. They may not tell you now, but over time, the debt is adding up in interest rate. And one day they're gonna wake up and just be tired of you, just be bored of you. We just bored them too much with our presence. We have to mix it up. Now we could talk about how we could mix it up by being hot and cold, and you don't have to be hot and cold in a toxic way. There's many ways to spice up your presence in your presence. You know what I'm saying? But we could talk about that any other day. So remember, learn to withdraw before people unconsciously push you away. Learn to do that. It's very important. Too many people that are watching are annoying. You guys are annoying your partners. Just give them space and you'll notice they'll love you and appreciate it. Even if you feel like they don't need space, give them space. It's healthy for the relationship. It's very important that we learn to overcome our codependent tendencies, because it really does sabotage our relationships. And the way you do that is to purchase the book, The Power of Now, which I always have it next to me, by Eckhart Tolle. Check out my course, Emotional Mastery, or go to a 10-day Vipassana retreat, which I'm going next week. Look, I'm making a course. Everyone knows the course that I'm making. And you guys, and I'm not going to finish it by the end of the week, because I want to go to the meditation retreat and then finish up some and then rewrite some of my notes that I've taken. I think it'll be so much better if I do that, people. Okay, so please, we're delaying the release of the course. Everyone knows I'm always on time with my stuff. I never lie to my subscribers who purchase from me. So yeah, just you guys have all the trust in me, and I'll just keep you guys updated. But I just want to do the 10-day retreat and just think about these concepts, and I think it'll be so much better. All right. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye. All right, if you guys enjoy these videos about stoicism, dating, relationships, self-help, moving up in life, I would recommend you guys check out some of my courses that I have for sale. These courses are courses for men and women. For example, Nice Girl, Nice Guy is a course about how to become more assertive. Natural Chemistry is a course for women that I have on how to develop strong relationships. Dark Game is a controversial course that I have for guys on how to attract women in their life and keep it. It's not as dark as it seems, but we do talk about some dark psychology in here. Psychological Game of Attraction is a course that we made for women who are single. And as you see, we have a course about how to develop charisma, emotional mastery, which is a course about how to develop a meditation practice and how to improve your emotional life, to become more resilient, to not let rejection hit you so hard, to be able to bounce back from failure. I have a course called Nice Guy, which is a course for guys who are single and guys who want to be able to develop more assertiveness training, right? Most of these courses come at $99. And there you can also purchase the bundle where you guys can purchase all of the courses in one go at a discounted rate, right? We have a bundle for women and a bundle for men. So click in the description down below to check them out. You can browse around and see the courses that you like. And if you don't like them, you guys can ask for a 30-day money-back guarantee, and I'll give you guys the money back, okay? And in fact, we actually have a new one for women right now we're developing. It's called The Feminine Woman. So if you're a woman watching, this course is specifically to help women become more feminine, to embrace their feminine while embracing their masculine energy. And I'm actually going to make a course for that, like that for men, which is called the Masculine Man, which is a course on how to develop masculinity and develop masculine energy, to attract women in your life, to attract business success in your life, to be able to be better socializing, to read people better. It's truly an all-around course. So if you guys want to check out those courses, click on the description down below where it says purchase the courses, and I'll see you guys inside. Bye-bye.